I can start, and it says it's good. Okay, so going live. Sure you want to start streaming this live event? Yes. Okay. Okay. And yeah. There.
I do it.
Hello. Hello, everybody. Okay. Do you hear us? Does everybody hear us? I'm gonna check the audio.
Yes, it works. It works. I can. Yeah.
Yes, great. Okay. So, okay, we are live, everybody. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Let me get over into the chat. Hopefully there's a chat. Did I turn on a chat? Oh, come on. Did I not turn the chat on for this? Do you have a chat box? There should be a chat box.
I'm going to check on the phone.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to say hi in the chat.
Yeah, there should be a chat box. But hello, everybody. We are live. Okay. So let me take that.
There's Julian there.
Great. Hello.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi,
Okay.
Juliana.
And let me just. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get the video here on my phone, and if you can say hi to a few people, and if you can introduce yourself. So for all of you joining, if you are not familiar, Erminia is the person behind the Language Rose. So she teaches Italian, Spanish, French, and she's from Italy and currently lives in the UK. And I came across her a couple years ago when I was just getting started with the 30-day speaking challenge. I saw she was organizing a challenge of her own, and that got my curiosity piqued. So I was like, oh, another person who likes language challenges, I have to connect. And so she's been a great source of inspiration for language learning, language teaching, and she's got a great blog, and she's been putting together a lot of local events. I haven't been able to attend any of those local events in the UK, but I've encouraged her to do a couple like virtual ones, so I can get a sneak peek of some of what these events look like. But great to have you join us here. So anything else I missed?
No, like you said everything. So, my name is Erminia, but I like other people to call me Ermi. So, I teach Italian, but I also been teaching other languages like Spanish and French. But my main thing, which I'm focusing on now, is Italian. I'm a certified language coach, qualified teacher, and all of that stuff. But I think like what most qualified me to teach languages is the fact that I've been learning not just one, like multiple ones.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that way, I know like what are the blocks along the way, and in a way I feel that I can help in that sense.
Which ones would you say, what did you start with?
I started with English first, because in Italy, everyone learns English at the first time in school. However, I have to say that my school experience with English, even though I had a good teacher, it wasn't great from the point of view of speaking, because we did a lot of grammar and we didn't get to speak much in school. Like my teacher was very good, like explaining grammar, and like I knew a lot about it at the beginning, but not very good speaking. And I really think that it's great that you do this 30-day speaking challenge for all the people that are like me, like, because they learn about the language, but it cannot really speak it. And so like having something that motivates us to do it consistently is what in the end unlock like the way you can speak eventually.
Yeah, I love organizing it, because like you said here, it's, I mean, a lot of the listening, reading, writing, and the speaking part usually gets kind of like the last skill. And unfortunately, that's like one of the most important ones. If people ask like, hey, do you speak this? Like the question isn't, do you read it? Do you do you understand it when I speak to you? Can you send me a text message? It's usually, can you speak it? Can you use it? So I think I probably like touched a very sensitive nerve for a lot of people around the world, but it has been generally helping out a lot of people. So I'm happy to hear that it's helping. And it's also a great way to reach out to teachers and see how can we help students, help learners, and kind of get this, like, pitch them like a suggested speaking topic. Teachers can use it like to encourage their students. Students can use it and say, hey, I've been working on this material. Can you give me some feedback? So it's kind of a win-win for a lot of people. I've heard some participants using this as a platform, even for just what can they bring to a classroom. I've seen teachers reach out and say, hey, how could I apply this in my own classroom? Maybe not bring the students into this challenge, but how could they create their own challenge in their class or virtually, or just get students to speak more, especially like if there's only 60 minutes in a class.
Yeah, and then I think it's also good the fact that it's a community, and so people like make friends, and this way they feel like safe, because a big part of the speaking is that some people are scared and they don't feel comfortable. And so I think what you do, like you have the Facebook group, and people get to like meet each other there, and so they build connection, and that also helps them to like progress, because they feel that they're safe, they're friends, they're doing the same thing, and it's like this community that motivates them. So I think it's really, really good.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you. That's good to know. People see
true.
those things and notice those things as well. So, but yeah. I unfortunately can't see these comments yet. I'm trying to log in over here on my phone, but if you can say hi to everybody, I'm gonna try to get this. I'm trying to keep the computer here for the broadcast, but I will learn for future broadcasts how to set these things up and get that. Okay, let's get into a few questions that we got so far. So there was one question that came in from Tim. So ciao, Tim. And Tim says, unfortunately, he was a bit busy right now, so he's going to have to watch this as a replay. So that's spoiler alert. Yes, there will be a replay. We're on YouTube. So his question is, he's approaching Italian from learning Spanish. And I can relate to this as well, because I kind of feel like I'm mixing a little bit of an influence from Spanish, either from the pronunciation, maybe from the vocabulary. I think I also relate where I might be approaching Italian from French as well. I know Juliana here speaks Portuguese. So as a bigger question here, what do you say to people learning Italian after having some experience from another Romance language? Is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? How can they take advantage of that prior knowledge?
I think it's a very good question, and I think there are both sides. I think it's very good to have another similar, like not similar, but language from the same family, because it helps to learn. At the same time, you need to be aware of the differences. And so when you have like Spanish and Portuguese, or Spanish and Italian, you learn both, right? First of all, it's always good to like learn one really well first, and then move to the others, because if you don't do that, if you say, for example, start to learn Spanish and Italian at the same time, it's going to be confusing. So you want to get to a very good level first in one, and then move to the other one. And then when you move to the other one, say you have Spanish first and then you start learning Italian, you have already a lot of stuff learned already. Some of the grammar is similar, some words are similar. So it's about to focus on the differences. And there are actually books and resources that show the differences between, say, Spanish and Italian. Like they just like about outlining the differences between similar languages. If you are learning a language like Italian, you may wanna like find, and for example, you already know Spanish, you may want to find like a resource that treats Italian from the point of view of a Spanish person, so that it tells you what are the differences that you need to focus on. So to give an example, this is actually, it comes from one of my students. She's Spanish, she's learning Italian, she also knows French, and she's lots of languages. She knows French, she's also learning Arabic, but one of the things that for her now is difficult and I think this is something that relates to all Spanish speakers that wants to learn Italian, is to learn the plural, because it's very hard for Spanish speakers to understand, like not understanding, but to start using the right agreement with plural, because unlike French or Spanish, the Italian in the plural change the vowel at the end. So it's like an I, or like an E, depends masculine, feminine. I'm not getting into detail, but so this plural rule, it can be like a headache. Another thing, it could be the pronunciation of all the words that start with S or ST, SB, because most words in Spanish that have like SB or SD, like they normally have an E before. So like, to give an example, the Spanish verb estar, right? Then in Italian is stare. And so what happened in the Spanish brain tends to like go back to the Spanish language, and so it tends to read stare, estare with an E, if that makes sense. And so it's like being careful about that pronunciation pattern, because it can come up a lot when they speak. And that is also like when they like, for example, if you realize that someone is Spanish, oh, you're Spanish, yeah, because you just pronounce this in this way, so that's why I realized that. But it's fine, like there's nothing bad about it. It's just being aware, and then make sure that you correct along the way. And it's a lot of effort. Another thing is another thing that I think is difficult for Spanish people is to express opinion using like the word for the word mi piace, which in Italian means I like. So in Spanish, mi piace, I like, is me gusta, but the Spanish people say also a mí me gusta, which in Italian would translate is a me mi piace, but it's not correct, because in Italian you either say mi piace or a me piace, but you don't say both a me mi piace, whereas the Spanish do say that. And so they say like me gusta, a mí me gusta, right? But that's not correct in Italian. And this is actually something that came out over the last class with my student who speaks Spanish, because she was like, oh, this is going to cost me a lot because I say this a lot. But yeah, so I could go into details like for long, but long story short, I think it's not bad if you already have another Latin language, Romance language, sorry, because it helps you. And the most important thing is to be aware of the differences and focus on those ones. Yeah, I can't hear you.
Okay, no.
I don't know why.
As a follow-up question, now? Yeah? Okay. As a follow-up question, would you recommend getting like a bilingual dictionary for, let's say, Spanish-Italian or French-Italian, or would that help with some of those overlaps or potential interference?
I don't know. It depends on the dictionary, because my personal experience is that when I was learning Spanish, and I'm Italian, right? I got a Spanish dictionary, bilingual dictionary, but it was not very good. And it was really hard for me to find a dictionary that actually was good. I think rather than dictionary is to rather than into a dictionary is good to invest into a good resource. It can be a book, because there are books that discuss the differences between, say, Italian and Spanish, Italian and Portuguese, or whatever it is the Romance language you're learning from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah,
But
dictionary, it depends.
Opinion,
yeah.
like, yeah, it's my personal opinion. And because the dictionary, at the end of the day, yeah, it can tell you like some of the differences, but it has to be a good dictionary. I haven't found any for Spanish for myself.
Note to self, write a dictionary.
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. Well, that's a possible gap in the market where you could invest in a good.
No, not me. I'm not going to write a dictionary.
Okay, people listening, if you have any connections, there's opportunities for making Romance language dictionaries there. Okay. Some questions here we've gotten about pronunciation. So I know, and continuing here a little bit with the Romance language influence, like, or even other languages, there are some tricky letters that people struggle with. I know a couple of them. In a similar way, I know people can struggle with the letter C, the letter G in English. They can struggle with the letter C and letter G in Spanish. So are there things there for Italian to be careful with about like C and G that what are your tips for that about the pronunciation?
Yeah, I mean, Italian has got like a predictable pattern. So once you know the pattern, you know how to pronounce the C and the G. So if you have the C with A, O, or U, the sound is K. So it would be Ka, Ko, or Ku. If you have the C with H and then E or I, so CHE or CHI, that would be Ke or Ki. Still K, right? However, if you have the C with E or I, so like CE or CI, that would be Che or Chi. And then you can also have the C with the I plus the A, the O, or the U. So CIA, CIO, CIU, yeah? And that would be Cha, Cho, Chu. That's the pattern. So once you know that, that's it. And it works the same with the G. So it follows the same pattern with the G. So you have the G plus A, O, U, so ga, go, go, strong sound. Then you have G plus E and I, you have Genji. Not strong sound, weak sound. And then you have G, H, E, or I, G, H, E, it's ge, and G, H, I is gi. And finally, you also have G, I, A, which is ja, G, I, O is jo, G, I, U is ju. I want to address Juliana's question because I can see from the Google Doc you sent me. She says about the Z sound. So when you have normally, okay, when you have the Z with double in the middle of a word, is like a ts sound. So it's like strong. Yes. So she has word like stuzzikino, which means snack. So it doubles that there. So it's ts. And then she also have another word. I don't know where you got those words, Juliana, but you have a word, akotsaya, which is mess or jumble. Yeah, it is. Where did you get this word from? And then, however, when the Z, sometimes the Z can also have like a Z sound, like it can be not strong, like it's not a S, it's not S, it's Z. So like in word like zo, so it's not so, it's zo, which is zoo. There isn't really like a rule, like it can vary. So I think as you come across the word, you learn. And to be honest with you, yeah, some Italian don't know, like sometimes they pronounce the S and then it's actually Z. You know who knows it really well? The actors, because the actors study diction. Is it diction in English? Like diction, like when you learn how to pronounce the words properly. What is it?
Yeah, I think it's diction, and I know there, at least for English actors, there are people who have like a dialect coach or an accent coach,
Yes.
and they usually get somebody. It depends on
Yeah.
what the actor's doing, but if they need to imitate, let's say, an Italian accent, but they're speaking English, I guess they would get
Yes.
somebody, let's say, somebody from Sicily, if they need to copy that accent or
Yeah.
something. So they might get somebody local, and then try to just get that into, like, copying it, listening recordings, imitating it, shadowing it, I guess.
Yeah, my sister, she acts, and sometimes like she's been in films, and sometimes she corrects me on, like, sometimes I pronounce the Z wrong. Oh no, this word is like this. Why? Because she studied it. And it's like, it's normal. But as for sure 100% I can tell you that the Z, when it's double and it's in the middle of a word, it's always t. That's was the question you asked me, because you put this word stuzzikino and panzaya. Then she also put, like, oh, we already covered that. She put a word chiacchierata, which is CHIACCCCHIERATA. So you have, like, the pattern of CHI, which is key, which we explained before. Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to mute myself because I've got life under quarantine, working from home. I have my younger children who are in the background, so I'm trying to limit that as much as I can.
All right.
Okay. Can you check on the chat? Do you see? Because I'm not sure if I made a mistake here. Because I thought there was a chat, but do you see any comments here so far? And I apologize if there wasn't a chat, because I know I have a comment here under the video, but I'm not sure if I was able to get this as a live chat thing there. So, do you see live chat comments?
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay. Okay, then I wasn't as inept as I thought I was on setting this up. Okay. Yeah, can you read a couple? Because unfortunately I can't see them. Oh, wow. Okay. You go ahead and read them, because I unfortunately there's a lot of things. Okay.
There are a few people, like, sharing their experience with learning from another language,
Okay.
a Romance language.
Okay. Can you
And
highlight a
they say,
couple comments there? Yeah. I'm
yeah, so
sorry, guys. I
like
can't see that. I should be able to, but yeah.
Sibyl is saying, I was practically fluent in French when I started Spanish and Italian at the same time. I hardly ever get French mixed up with either of them, but Spanish and Italian all the time. Okay. If that's your case, Sibyl, I would say just to go, like, very hard on one of those, either Spanish or Italian, for a while, forget about the other one, and then move to the next one. And that should help your brain to separate the two. It will happen. It will, because I'm telling you, when I was learning Spanish, I was learning a lot, because when I was studying for my exam, sometimes I would, like, come up with the Spanish word when I was speaking Italian, because learning a lot of Spanish. But then with time, my brain separated both of them. So don't feel like you're doing something wrong. It's normal. It just takes practice. Tim say, I can't say that I ever really used a me gusta unless emphasizing something, so I should be okay with mi piace. Okay, good. Okay, then you have, do you have any recommendation books discussing those differences? Tim, I don't remember the title, but I saw a book that was discussing those differences. I don't remember the title, so I don't want to say a lie now. But what I'll do, once this live is finished, I'll go back and see, and then I don't know, I'll give it to Jonathan, or
Yeah, I can publish it, put it as
I'll
a
put in the
comment on
Facebook
the
group of
video.
talent. Yeah, I'll do that. What else? What else? Same. No, I think that's it. So Karen is asking me, Karen, she's a dear friend of mine. She said, did you do English at primary and secondary school, Ermi? I did. I started English in secondary school when I was 11. We did like, I believe, 3 hours per week. That's when I started English. Let's see what else.
And feel free to add questions. Maybe put the word question. You can put that in your comment, and we'll try to get that in here.
So put it very big, like capital question. We see immediately. Yes.
But good. Okay, so there is a chat that is here, and then people active in it. So thank you everybody watching this. I'll catch up on those comments afterwards. So it's a little tricky when you have like 1-2 screens and going on. But we have some other questions. Anything else? What's else on the Google document? I think maybe I think there was a question also from Juliana about word stress. Word stress. Are there predictable patterns for Italian? Because I know there are predictable patterns for Spanish. English not so much. It's a bit chaotic in English. But does Italian have any predictable patterns? Is it based on spelling? Is it based on number of syllables?
Okay, so there is a pattern. So most Italian words are supposed to be, not all of them. Most Italian words, they are. I don't know how do you say this in English. When a word has like the accent, not on the last syllable, on the one.
My second to last. Well, there's the whole phrases of like. Well, last syllable would be ultimate. One back would be penultimate. And then 2 back would be I hope I'm pronouncing it right. So, anti-penultimate. But yeah, ultimate, penultimate, anti-penultimate.
Okay. So we normally have the accent on the penultimate. So the one before the last one. Yes. If the only case when the accent is like put in writing, like in Spanish, like with an accent like that, the symbol, is when either to distinguish two monosyllable, for example, A and E. So A with the accent is int, and E with a grave accent is it is, she is, or it is. Or when there's a word and the last syllable is the one that has the main intonation. So when a word has the last syllable as a main intonation, there is the accent on it. So you know that. Now, it's not as precise as it is in Spanish, because the Spanish people, when they don't have the accent either on the last syllable or on the second to last, they put it also like, for example, on the first syllable, if it's on the first. I don't know, for example, like, tell me a word in Spanish, like with a, útil, right? Útil has got the accent on the U, because the rule says that the accent should be on the T. You should say útil, but it's not like this. So since it breaks the rule, it has the accent on the U, right?
The patterns.
In Italian, it's not like this. In Italian, we don't put the accent like before, like in the first syllables, if that word has the accent. So I think, I know this is annoying for people, they're learning, because they obviously want to know, hey, where the hell is the accent here? Because it should normally be on the second to last syllable or on the last one, in case you see it, because it's like it's written, but it's not, it's on the first. Why is not an accent there? Yes, there isn't. But I think it's, again, as you come across words, you will learn them. And then one trick I can say is that when there is a verbs in the present tense, the last person, the they form, has normally the accent on the, sorry, is it last, second to last? What's the one before?
Anti-penultimate? Anti-penultimate, yeah.
Normally
so like go back, 1, 2, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, the antepenultimate. So,
For example.
okay, for example, yes, it would be they read, right? They read. Um, leggono, leggono. So
Okay.
it's not leggono. It should be leggono according to the rule, right? But it's leggono.
Okay.
Or another one, parlano, they speak. It's parlano. It's not parlano.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, so it's the antepenultimate.
Okay.
This is for verbs in the present tense, the last one, the they form. So that is something that you can learn. But yeah, it can be tricky. But as you come across, you will get that. I need to turn on my light, because it's getting dark.
Okay. If you want to. But yeah, so I think another tip I would add here would be as you're putting vocabulary in a notebook, maybe use a highlighter. Maybe a highlighter could
Yeah,
help you
good
with
one.
remembering some of that. That's even some things I've helped with students learning English is maybe get if you need to read a text and you want to shadow it or imitate it, maybe underline or highlight
Yes.
just to see where you need to stress that. And then just kind of get those into patterns. Sometimes even creating a separate list of words that have a certain pattern, if they're like 3-syllable words, and just get a group of them, and that all of the ones that are on this list have one pattern. Just learn those words as a group. This will
Yes.
kind of teach your brain to recognize those words within other words that have that similar pattern. For English, this also works with like irregular verbs, irregular past participles and things like that. If I'm learning like break, broke, broken, write, wrote, written. Not a great example, but there are some patterns that you could work with some of
Yeah.
those. Yeah.
And I think that it's a really good way, what you said, like listening to stories and then imitate, reading along. With this, I want to point out Juliana's question because she says, any recommendation of Italian stories for beginner? I say yes, go on my website. I wrote 2 stories. They're on my blog. They're also on my YouTube channel, actually. If you go on my YouTube channel, you will see there are 2 stories. One is for intermediate and one is for beginners, the short stories. And you can listen to me reading to them. And then you can check how they're written in my blog, as well as the translation, because I translated them into English. So you can see what they mean. Also, I have to say, Ollie Richards' stories are good. I like them. I use them for French. So Ollie Richards, he has written a few books, short stories in Italian, short story in French. I really like his books. I've used short stories in French, and I use short stories in Italian sometimes. He's short story in Italian to teach
Okay.
as well. So yeah, it's good.
I'll definitely put
Um,
these links when I later, if you come back to this video, I will update the description of this video with those links to Ermi's
oh yeah, good
blog and
one.
then also the link to Ollie's short stories. And yeah, if you have a specific video that has those, I'll add that here as well.
Yes, and she said Dali's got a question. What do you recommend for a person learning a language on your own? Okay. Well, it depends on your needs. I believe if you're asking this question, it's maybe you found some blocks or some I don't know, maybe time is your main thing, or I don't know, you need accountability. Because when you learn a language on your own, it can be tricky for many things. So, for example, for me, I can talk about from my personal point of view. For me, I needed someone to be accountable to, because if I don't do it, if I don't have someone that knows I'm doing that thing, I probably won't do it. And so I think one thing that can really help in order to be consistent with it, because if you're learning a language, you need to be consistent with it, or it's useless if you just do it like like 1 hour per week, because you're not going to get much out of it. So to having someone to be accountable for, if you're that kind of person, if you're like me. If you're more like, oh no, if I can keep promise to myself, good. But I also think it's good to have a schedule, like have a planner where you plan your study, and then also know what works for you in terms of how you learn best. So, for example, if you're more visual, you like writing things down a lot, or you like pictures, or you like listening a lot and you memorize things through listening. So you need to be aware of that kind of things in order to to make progress fast, because if you don't know how you learn best, you may use things that are wrong for you. So to give you an example, it's useless to memorize words through lists when you hate lists and someone has just given you a list of words to, maybe your teacher has given you a list of words to memorize and you hate it. But maybe what would work for you is making a mind map out of those words, because you're more visual, and so you may want to group them into like a nice written down mind map with different colors. So it so I think to be self-aware when you're learning a language on your own, like it really helps. Having a schedule, like put yourself on a schedule, because how do you say in American? Is it schedule?
I would have the schedule. I know maybe in
Yeah.
Canada it might be, or Australia maybe schedule, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But schedule. Yeah. Yeah. You go back.
Okay. No, I was just wondering, because sometimes I don't know how to pronounce it. So okay, cool. Yeah. So put yourself on a schedule. Have a planner where you put down like when you're gonna do it. It's like having a date with yourself. Today for 10 minutes I'm going to do this thing. And yes, you can just do it for 10 minutes, because you don't have to do like huge chunk of time. This is another thing, like people think they need to spend hours like writing things down and learning from book. No, I think if you have 10 minutes doing the right things, right, having them planned, that can help you a lot. So those 10 minutes, if you know that you're working, say, to learn a tense, maybe you could do exercises on that tense for those 10 minutes, or you can write a story on that tense. So it's doing the right things, and have time, finding the time for it, and being aware of how you learn. It's really good. By the way, I have on my blog, there is a blog post. I think that the right name is find out your learning superpowers, something like around those lines. If you go on my website, there is a search box that says learning superpowers, how to find out your learning superpowers, and there is a test that you can do to find out what is your most preferred learning style. That can help you to find out how you learn best. And there's also worksheets on my blog post that can help you apply what you find out from the test in your language learning. So that can help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely go check out Ermi's blog, The Language Rose. She's got a lot of great advice, as you can see here. And so just to kind of summarize that point here, stick to a certain amount of time each day. Make it a date with yourself. And I definitely agree with this accountability. Get other people involved in your progress. So as we try to encourage people in the speaking challenge, try to buddy up with somebody. So if you can swap languages with somebody, let's say if you're English speaker learning Italian, try to partner up with an Italian speaker learning English. See if you can help each other out. Maybe also try to encourage both of you to have a deadline for when you're going to post your recording. So you might set up just a ticking clock on your phone, or an alarm on your phone, and maybe send a message to that friend and say, hey, did you post yet? And just that little question that could help remind somebody, like, oh yeah, that's right. Oh, I almost forgot. Or, oh yeah, thanks for reminding me. So that can just help keep your friend, you and your friend on track. Or get multiple people involved. So that definitely helps with accountability. bite-sized amount. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I was just saying, like, it's good to have someone you're accountable to. At the same time, you can learn a language on your own, yes, but eventually you will need someone to speak to. So find that person from day one,
Mm-hmm.
and go and join the 30-day speaking challenge. From day one, you start learning. So yeah,
We do get some strange situations sometimes with the speaking challenge where people are like, I have to actually speak with people? You're like, that is kind of one of the goals. It wasn't exactly just speak by yourself alone. I mean, so I do want to definitely encourage people to like find practice partners, find people to have a conversation with, get into that habit as well, because sometimes I hear with the preparation time that goes into the short recordings, where sometimes it can go in like an hour of prep time, 2 hours of prep time, or making the recording multiple times if they weren't happy with it. So I want to say, like, just remind yourselves that in a conversation with a friend, there probably is no prep time. There's like, hey, how was your weekend? They want an answer as soon as they ask it. They're not going to say, and especially I tell my students with a TOEFL prep, your friends aren't going to give you a piece of paper and a pen and say, you've got 15 seconds to think about how your weekend was. Okay, now get ready to start speaking. Like in a conversation, it's usually instantaneous that people want you to reply. And so, yeah, definitely get used to a little bit of prep time for recordings, but like Erminia is saying here, get into a regular habit of speaking with somebody. And it doesn't have to be a long amount of time. You can start small, like 15-minute conversation with a friend, just check in. Maybe even swap messages on like Facebook Messenger. They're short, and it just keeps you speaking, and don't overthink it too much on the prep stuff.
Mm-hmm. I really like the fact that you can do this like in chat as well nowadays, because I think like chat for me has helped me a lot when I was first learning English, because I didn't have that quick mind like to react immediately.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't, like, it happened to everyone. Like when you first start learning a language, it's just not, it doesn't come out easily, right? It takes time.
Mm-hmm.
And so the chat allowed me to, like, when I was chatting, I had the time to think, but it was not a long span of time. So in a way, it kind of trained me to think more quickly, and then eventually it eased me into the speaking, because when I was chatting, then I was thinking, I had time to think, yes, not that much. So I was kind of challenging myself at the same time. And then I started to think quicker and quicker until like the words started to like came out more naturally. And so I could have actually a conversation.
Yeah, kind of build that up. Really,
yes.
I had some experience, like really long time. So this is before Google, or just slightly after Google started, but before Facebook, before Twitter, before all that stuff. So I was doing Russian with ICQ. This is a chat program back like almost 20 years now. And I would get these long texts from people, and then I'd have to go to a physical dictionary, look up all these Russian words individually, and finally piece together this little puzzle that said, you're taking a long time to reply. I have to go now. Bye. So I got that message like 30 minutes after I received it, and it was like, yes, I was having to go in a dictionary. There was no Google Translate. There were no other search tool options for looking up words, so I had to do that. And yeah, chatting in Russian was just, it didn't work, because I would take 30 minutes just to decipher one message. So now you can just pop that in Google Translate.
Did you tell him like you were like actually using?
Oh yeah. I mean, but it was ICQ, and people were just like, "Oh, well, bye." It wasn't what things are now today. People were like, "You're learning a language on the internet? Like that's weird." So it was all this stuff 20 years ago. But now the technology has gotten a lot faster. You can just boom, Google Translate.
Yeah. You know, this reminds me of the time when I used to use a paper dictionary when I first came to the UK. Sometimes I had to go to the shop to buy stuff, right? Well, I run, but I still go now. But sometimes I didn't know the name of the things that I wanted to buy. And so I had to, like, before going to the shop, I would look it up in a dictionary, and I had this tiny dictionary, Italian to English, to see the names of the stuff.
Like Collins Gem or something like this.
Yeah, I would prepare myself, like, okay, I need to say this and that. Okay, let's go. But it's okay because, it's a learning experience anyway.
Let's check, see if there's any other more comments, questions in the chat.
Karen, she says, is there a ratio percentage of language for competency in conversation? So 50% verbs, adjectives, nouns.
Oh,
Whoa.
That's an interesting question.
Yeah, it is.
I'd love to do the research on that. I'm curious about that one. Okay, I'll challenge for me.
What?
Yeah, for.
I would go by intuition, and I would say, okay, if you learn a verb and you know how to conjugate the verb, right? You have already a lot of words there. So I would say maybe verbs and or nouns first and then verb. I don't know, like.
How would you say most, if you can generalize it, how would you say the etymology or the word formation goes in Italian? Does it start with does it start with a verb root and then you can create adjectives and nouns from that, or would it be more common to have a noun and create a verb?
I don't know, like, you can do that in Italian. Yeah, we have like word formation like in English. So from a word from a noun you can derive a verb, and from a verb you can derive an adjective and adverbs and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's difficult to answer this question, but I like it. We need to research.
I like it too. I'm going to do some research on that one. That one's got me stumped.
I think it might depends from language to language, because say Japanese, like.
Oh, I haven't done a lot. I'd have to ask somebody else for Japanese, but
Chinese, like, I don't know. Sorry, Karen, we cannot answer this question for now. We keep you on hold.
We'll get back to you. We'll keep you posted.
Okay, let's see. Ranke said, I used to write letters on paper to learn English. I guess that's what I wanted to do, and English was more the tool to talk to someone in the Philippines. I like the fact that it was writing letters. It reminds me someone else I know. She used to write letters in Italian to learn it, like love letters.
Oh, okay.
But I love letters like addressed to like someone, like a deal one.
It's not a specific person, just as a writing exercise. Oh, okay.
Yes, because she loved to write, and so what she did, she used to write these letters to, and it's something that I used to do. I didn't write love letters, but I used to keep a journal in English. Every day I would write what happened to me during the day. And that also helped me, for speaking, because when writing, obviously you practice your vocabulary and sentences, and that helped a lot. Yeah,
it allows you to reflect and get the words. Whereas the speaking part, it has to be a little more spontaneous.
Shall I go through some of the things that I found in the recordings of the?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yes, definitely. Because I've invited you to kind of check in. We don't want to name names. Just we don't want to call anybody out. General. So just if you observe something. No. But just if you observe somebody, it's anonymous. If you observe something, all the questions that you guys have been generating, we're telling you, hey, so and so had this question. But any observations that we've seen on the recordings, those are anonymous. So. Okay.
Yes, I just went through some of the recordings and found some common mistakes. So I would like to speak about that, so that can help you guys, all of you. So I found a lot the pronunciation of the vowel O in Italian. So the vowel O in Italian, when it's at the end of the word, it's open O. So it's not, for example, parlo, it's parlo. So it's open. When the O is at the end of word, it's open. And also in word like oggi, so it's not oggi, it's oggi, which means today. Or cose, which means things. It's not cose, it's cose. So it's an open R. So that's something that I saw a lot, because obviously oggi, today, cose, things, they're words that are used a lot.
So how does open O differ from ah? Is this like an O that you might use in British English for, like, what are some examples of it? Is like, because I'm thinking open O, I'm thinking like ah, or is it
Ah, I
all?
see. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I like this that you point this out. So basically, in Italian we have two O's. So one is open and one is closed. So the closed one is O.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The open one is the same as sound coming out of your mouth, but you just open your mouth more. So that's why it's open. So it's rather than do O, you do O.
Ah.
Got it? That's
Okay.
it.
Okay.
So that's
It's a little bit like feels a little bit like the short U in English of like up.
that's it. I don't know. I don't wanna
I
if
don't like
that
approximations, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
if that helps you to remember that, good.
Okay. Okay. If it
I
works,
don't
it works.
know.
Okay.
Someone else would think about something else.
Okay.
What I sometimes I say is like, if you're surprised, you're like, if you're surprised, right? Sometimes you're like, oh, like, you
Okay.
know,
That's a good one. That's a
yeah.
good one. Okay. So
So it's like,
oggi,
oh,
oggi, oggi, cose. I guess. I don't know.
yes, that's it.
No. Okay, cool. I'll
Yeah, you're
remember
right.
that.
Yeah,
I'll
good.
remember that. Okay. Thank you. Grazie. Grazie.
There you go. Then another thing is about vocabulary that I found, because I was listening and I told these people talking about books, which was cool, like the books they read. So I'm gonna offer you some synonyms to replace the word mi piace, because mi piace means I like, right? So you don't want to repeat mi piace all the time. So you want to vary your vocabulary. So I have other word for mi piace could be apprezzo. Apprezzo, it comes from the verb apprezzare. It means to appreciate. So apprezzo is I appreciate. It's written with two Z and two P. Apprezzo. Then another word could be another expression rather. It could be mi interessa. I'm interested in, with two S's. Mi interessa. And then if you're talking about more than one thing, so for example, I'm interested in books, it would be mi interessano I libri. Whereas if it's just one book, you say mi interessa il libro. So it works like mi piace and mi piacciono. Mi piace il libro, I like the book. Mi piacciono I libri. Another word, which is a little bit stronger than mi piace, but it can be used as a synonym. It can be used to replace it, not as a synonym. It's just stronger. It could be adoro, which is I adore, comes from adorare, to adore. And then you could also say amo, I love, which comes from amare. And then I also put down another, say, idiomatic expression. If you're really, really crazy about something, we have this expression in Italian. You know that one, Jonathan? Maybe you know this one.
No,
Go crazy for.
I'm not familiar with that one.
So it's vado pazzo per.
Ooh, that's a new one for
Vado
me.
pazzo per.
That's a new one for me. Okay.
Yes. So pazzo means crazy. Obviously, if you're a girl, you need to change it's pazza. So vado, I go. Pazzo or pazza if you go. Crazy. Per. For. So vado pazzo per I libri di avventura. I go crazy for adventures books. Vado pazzo per I libri di fantasia. I go crazy for fantasy books.
Okay.
So that is something that you could use. Yes. And then something else that I found common, that was like a common mistakes between the people that were submitting recordings, is like the use of prepositions with some verbs. So there is like the verb parlare, to talk. It's normally followed by di. So to talk about something, parlare di qualcosa. To talk about something, parlare di qualcosa. So you would say parlare di un libro, to talk about a book. Oggi parlo di un libro. Today I talk about a book. So it's parlare di. Some people were forgetting the di, or they were putting something else. Another thing that I found was the verb imparare, which is to learn. Imparare is followed by a. So if you say, I learn Italian, it would be, sorry, if you're saying, I learned to speak Italian, because the preposition is before a verb, so it would be imparo a parlare l'italiano. I learn, imparo a parlare, to speak l'italiano. So what happens is people miss the a, so they just like imparo parlare l'italiano, but you need to put the a in the middle. Imparo a parlare l'italiano. Then they have also another one, which was provare, to try. Provare, like imparare, is followed by a if you have a verb after. So it would be provare a parlare l'italiano, to try to talk Italian. Oggi provo a parlare l'italiano. Today I try to speak Italian. So it's like that a needs to be put in the middle. And then there are quite, I know this is gonna last ages if I'm gonna go through all of them, but I'm just like gonna pick two more. So one is migliorare la capacità di. I think someone used that, migliorare la capacità di, which it means improve the ability to, or improve the skill of. Migliorare, to improve, la capacità, the ability, di, followed by di, of. So for example, you could say voglio, I want, migliorare, to improve, la capacità, the ability, di ascoltare, to listen. So okay, in English is it like, I want to improve the ability to listen, right? You don't say of listening. You say
Okay.
that?
Yeah, I mean, if it gets longer, I guess I could. Like, I want to improve my listening ability. I would probably switch it around.
Yeah,
I'd probably turn it
good,
into
isn't it?
some kind of an adjective. But
But in Italian, we have this expression, migliorare la capacità di.
okay.
So to improve the ability of. So you need to remember that when you want to say, oh, I want to improve my listening skills. So you need to like swap things around and say, oh, wait, I need to use the expression migliorare la capacità di ascolto, of listening, or di ascoltare.
Okay. In general, what would you recommend for this? This is reminding me a little bit like phrasal verbs in English, where there's a verb plus a preposition, and I think this probably took me a long time to figure this stuff out. But it was like I had a bad habit when I was learning like Spanish or French, where I was learning the vocabulary words without the articles. So it was like,
Yes.
And then later on, you get stuck when you're speaking, and you're like, oh, is it masculine? Is it feminine? And this also happened with Russian, where you have a verb, and then it's heavily dependent on cases, and the cases need prepositions. So these like v, na, o. So like those will determine what case you end up using with a noun. So I would heavily recommend, as you're learning a new verb, learn any associated prepositions that you'll need with that verb, and maybe an example phrase, like a simple one. So Ermi's doing a great job of showing us examples there. Do you know of any collocation lists of verbs for Italian, of these parlare di?
There are definitely lists of collocations. I mean, if you just Google like collocation Italian, you'll find loads of lists.
Okay.
But I think you can have all the list of the world. However, I think it's the example that makes the difference for you to remember it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could go through like all of the verbs, but I think it's okay. One thing is you could learn the ones that have the preposition a
Okay.
together.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of the ones that have the preposition a. So for example, imparare a, we saw before. Provare a.
Okay.
Yeah. You can learn those together. Just maybe if that helps you. But I think what is to remember that, I think the example matters. So from my personal experience, I was learning phrasal verbs in English when I first started, and it was really messy. I couldn't remember them. So what I did, I wrote them down in examples in my notebook, but that wasn't helping either because I was copying the example from the book. And so it was not personalized. Then I realized that if I personalized that and made it relevant to me, then I would remember because it's something that's mine. Yes. So I think learning, like you said, the verb and the preposition, like learning if there are what verb goes with what associated, and then make a personalized example that could help.
Yeah, that would be a
Yes.
good way to build on that, and something that you could actually use in a conversation or in a recording. Cool.
Yeah.
I think we've got maybe time for one more question.
Let's see
And then,
what in the chat if they say. Oh, someone has written up all my synonym for mi piace. I
oh,
like
thank
that.
you.
Thank you, Ellie.
Thank you. Thank you. Grazie.
Uh, let's see.
And while you're looking, just to say,
Oh, okay. I like this question. It says, sorry, what were you saying?
oh, I was just going to kind of fill up the silence, but just to say, definitely check out Ermi's website, The Language Rose, Rose. That's also her account on Instagram. And you have the Facebook page, the same one, The Language Rose. And do you have any group sessions, or what do you have going on in May, June so far for anybody who's interested in learning more from you and with you?
I was, if people, whoever is learning Italian, they are all invited to join us on Saturday for my Italian class. I'm doing live Italian class every Saturday on my YouTube channel. So it's like youtube.com Ermi Pedata with a Y, ERMYPEDATA. Yeah, you're free to join. There are also like the previous one if you want to watch them. And yeah, I think if you go there and join us, it's gonna be fun because we do quizzes and then we learn all together. So it's cool. And I also have a Facebook group called forgot it's called. It's called Italian for English Speakers with Ermi.
Okay.
From the language road. Yes, long name. Italian for English speakers. Yes. If you just put it on Facebook, you just Facebook it.
Okay.
Rather than Google it.
I will add links here, and for any of you in the speaking challenge, I'll add some of these links into the next email that we've got going out.
You can join that, and we do sometimes conversation starters. So I put something conversation starter like is me putting a conversation suggestion in the group in Italian, then everyone comments. It's just to practice our Italian, and then sometimes I go live, we do questions. There are people asking questions in the group as well, so that can be helpful. If you see someone's question and maybe you have the same question, so I answer to them. And if you have a question, you obviously can post in the Facebook group, like how do you say this, or what's the difference, and what's that, and what's this. Why am I going crazy with Italian? Yes. So if they check out, they might like that. Yeah, that's it. Can I just
Yeah, and
answer
cool. Let's
Ali?
get Ali's question, and then we'll wrap up here.
Yes, it's just because Ali, okay, she says both that and pair are sometimes translated as for. Yes. Could you please explain the difference? I could, but I would need, it depends on the context. So as we were saying before, some verbs go with some preposition. So I believe that you saw those in a sentence with a verb. So as that verb is followed by a certain preposition, right? And as in English, the verb you are translating into is followed by the preposition for. That's why it is translated as for. I don't know if I'm making any sense here. So to give you an example, if you have a verb in English, Jonathan, can you think of a verb in English with the for after? I can't think of any. Looking for. Looking for. I'm looking for a book. Okay. I'm looking for a book. So that translated into Italian would be sto cercando un libro. Now, the verb cercare in Italian is not followed by any preposition. So in that case, the for is not translated. Okay. Now, I believe, I don't know where is your context, but I believe this reasoning applies to your context as well. So I think you had a verb in Italian followed by da or per that is translated with a verb into English followed by for. So it's a common collocation. In Italian, like the common collocation is, I don't know, so I can't think of any. So I should have an example to let you know. But I think it's a matter of common collocation. Some verbs in Italian are followed by no preposition, like cercare un libro. But in English, they are translated with a preposition, looking for a book. Some verbs, they are followed by another preposition, like provare a, right? And then in English, they are translated with another preposition. So I think it's a matter of common collocation. That's why they are translated like that. Okay, so seen by, vista da. Okay, yes. So vista da. So for example, you could say è stata vista da Ermi. She was seen by Ermi. In that context, I would think about the verb vedere, right? And think about like she's to see from someone. So when someone sees you, they're seeing from their point of view. So a way to remember that is from. Sometimes it can be translated as from, but think about verb vedere. Think about the person that is looking, and from their point of view, right? So vedere vista da Ermi. So that could help you to remember that, if that makes any sense. But yeah, I mean, Ali, if you just give me your examples, and I'll be happy to have a look at them and give you a more detailed explanation, because it's a bit random like that. Yeah. So I don't think there are any more questions.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody who has been in the chat here and connecting with each other, and then definitely, can you all say thank you, grazie to Ermi for all of her insights and tips here about learning Italian and pronunciation, and so yeah, just a very big thank you, grazie mille, and definitely check out Ermi's lessons here on YouTube on Saturday. So I'll get more of that information to put with this video and also
Saturday,
in the email.
3:30 p.m. British Summer Time.
Okay.
I don't know where you are. Well, you can check it out.
Okay. I will add those into the details there. But cool. Okay. Well, thank you so much. And this was a pleasure, as always, getting a chance to talk with you and catch up and see how you're doing. And thank you for your support in the 30-day speaking challenge on the helping the Italian speakers this month. We really appreciate that. And we'll definitely be in touch. I'll send more people your way learning Italian. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao. Ciao.
Ciao, 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 ciao.